What's a single valuable piece of information you would like to share? The most important piece of information you can give 911 is where you are, followed by what the problem is. Even if no other information is given, someone can still be sent to a location to see what the problem is. Bonus: if you accidentally call 911, just stay on the line and tell them it was an accident. It happens a lot. They won't be mad if you hang up. They have to call you back. That is irritating. One time when I was like 14, I was home alone, taking a shower. I heard banging sounds and got freaked out. I was paranoid someone was trying to break in, or maybe was already inside. So I went around the house searching all potential hiding spots, biggest knife I could find in one hand, phone in the other. To be prepared, I had dialed 911, so all I had to do was push call if there really was an emergency. My mom told me later that the phone would automatically put the call through if it was to 911. I deemed the house clear, then looked at the phone. Only then did I realize I was in a call. Panicked, I just hung up. Of course, they called back. I let it ring for a while, then figured it'd be worse if I didn't answer. I honestly explained to the person that I thought I heard sounds, dialed 911, didn't mean for the call to go through, then hung up because I was embarrassed. I assured her that everything was fine and begged her not to send anyone. In retrospect, that's probably why they sent someone. Except they didn't tell me they were sending anybody, so when I got a violent knock on my door, I answered it with that same knife behind my back. More than 10 years later and I'm still embarrassed about the whole situation. I can say from experience that it's up to the operator's discretion to send someone in such situations, and they will usually err on the side of caution. I personally would have told you that I was sending an officer to check. But their reason was probably that if you were in danger, they wouldn't have wanted to alert your attacker to help on the way. This actually saved a woman in an episode of a true crime podcast I like. She had hit the silent alarm. The dispatcher calls and she said everything was fine because the guy had a gun and the phone was on speaker. The dispatcher thought her voice sounded off, so sent the police. They surrounded the building and saved her within seconds of being choked to death. Never make a large financial decision without considering all the tax consequences. Also, 20,000 lieues under the sea refers to the distance traveled, not submerged depth. Some credit cards cover accidental damage to electronics for a predefined period of time. Use those cards for buying computers and electronics. To add to this, unless you genuinely can't control your spending, you should absolutely have a credit card. The biggest reason is for the fraud protection. If someone fraudulently uses your credit card number, they haven't actually touched your money. You tell the bank you see an unauthorized transaction, they cancel it and send you a new card, that's it. You won't be able to use the card for a couple of days while waiting for the new one, but the money in your account is safe. If they use your debit card number, they get the money in your account. The bank will probably give it back, but they don't have to if they decide it's your fault. And you will likely lose access to the account for a couple of days. Also, purchase protection. If you buy literally anything and the company fails to deliver, or the product you receive is garbage, and the company refuses to help, chargebacks are super easy. Don't overuse it, and always try to talk to the company first, but this is a great benefit. A few years ago I pre-ordered a $600 item about 8 months in advance. When they were supposed to ship out, the company said they were behind schedule because of COVID, then several months later declared bankruptcy and ceased to exist. I contacted the lawyer's office handling the bankruptcy and they said I wasn't getting my money back because there wasn't any. Filed a chargeback with the card I used, got my money back within a week. In addition to cash rewards, some cards have rental car damage coverage, free trip insurance, emergency medical coverage if you are traveling to another country, a warranty extension on certain products, roadside assistance, etc. If you can't qualify for one because you have no credit, start with a secured card to build credit. You deposit the money up front, so basically a debit card, and then use it and pay it off as a credit card. Paramedic here. One of the most terrifying things that happened to me in my career was exactly this. I was at a high-volume urban service. Got asked to pull a 36 as my relief the next morning called out. We ran hard for about 33 or so of those hours, solid. A good majority of them were legit emergencies, including 2 cardiac arrests if I remember correctly. Finally get back to the station. I went to bed in the squad bay. Woke up at home. Zero memory of the trip. Sat bolt upright and had a full adrenaline dump. Scared me half to death. Next shift asked around and was told I looked pretty tired, so my partner did truck turnover and told me to go home. Found my uniform strewn in a line across my living room, pointing towards the bedroom. Refused to pick up consecutive overtime on busy trucks after that. Seek low ground. Don't shelter under a high point like a tree since it will act as a lightning rod and you will still get fried to a crisp. Worst case scenario, you are out in flat open ground with no shelter. Don't lie down, cause if the lightning hits nearby, the ground will be electrified and you will still get fried to a crisp. The best option is to squat down into a ball, get as low as possible, but minimize your contact with the ground. This way your exposure will be minimized, unless it hits you directly, in which case you will still get fried to a crisp. The best thing to reduce the amount of damage to your body is to squat down, while on your tippy toes, and cover your head, back of neck with your hands. If you are going to get struck, then you need to have as little contact with the ground as possible. Since you'll be grounded, the lightning will be using your body as a channel to get to the ground, and the more surface area of your body that is touching the ground, then the more damage it will do. A lot of people have heard that lightning strikes higher points, so they think to lay on the ground to get as low as possible. This is absolutely what not to do, since your entire body is now in contact with the ground. That would result in your entire body taking damage since you're touching the ground from head to toe. You're allowed to go to restaurants on your own. No one is going to think it's strange, and the staff might treat you extra well. I always suspected they thought I was a critic. So if there is some place you want to try but no one willing to go with you, don't deprive yourself. This is very similar to what an ocular migraine is like. First time it happened, I was trying to Google fast enough before my vision completely went away. Thought I was about to be blind for the rest of my life. I have had both. The retinal detachments, both eyes, a year apart, FML, were less scintillating than my ocular migraines field cuts. Also, there was a very sharp, straight edge to the curtain-like blind spot in my retinal detachments. Also tons of floaters and even visible blood in my eye. Felt like I was seeing through sand dispersed in a gel. Also hurt really bad, like ice pick pressure. A real sharp ache. My friend had a vitreous separation that caused a bleed and sparks but did not get a detachment with it. If you get any of this stuff happen, just haul ass to an eye doctor and do whatever they say to do. Police in America are legally allowed to lie to you to get a confession. They can lie about all kinds of evidence they have on you and that you have no chance but to confess. Don't say a word other than to ask for a lawyer. Never fall into the belief that it'll get worked out in court later. The second you confess, you're done. Even if you are guilty and want to confess, still get a lawyer. They'll work out a plea bargain for you that you could not get if you confessed to a cop before your trial. Boosting the second part. Everything. What drugs, where you got them, how much, who gave them to you, their name, your dog's name. They have stressful lives and will appreciate it. They aren't police and just want to help you, and go home. Tell them about the gun, so they know they can be safe. They are master lie detectors and you are too high, drunk, stupid to get one past them. More often than not, their questions are there to confirm what that already know. Respect paramedics. They study like doctors, get paid like retail workers, and work longer hours than either. Don't ever call them ambulance drivers. Black circle, a proud family member of stressed paramedic. Sort of related. Tell your vet what drugs and how much your animal got into. We're not going to report you, but we need to know how to treat your pet. We see so many that get into their owner's stash, but delaying that information delays help for your friend. For an example why a lawyer is a must, see the opening of My Cousin Vinny where Daniel San accidentally confesses to murder. Not that they really needed it to move to trial. He thought they were pulled over for a can of tuna they accidentally shoplifted at a convenience store, unaware that someone robbed the place moments after they left and killed the clerk. And don't fall for the old, only guilty people get. Lawyers. Lawyers exist for a reason. They know the law better than you. This happened to me recently. I got pulled over for a broken tail light and the cop told me he smelled weed on me and the drug dogs are on their way. I was like, WTF, I don't have weed, and he goes, just kidding. Fire doesn't burn where fire has burned unless there's some kind of accelerant like gas. So if you are in a forest fire, brush fire, field fire, etc., try to go to where the fire came from, because the fire won't go back there since there's no fuel for it to consume. If you fall into cold water, the ocean, don't immediately try and swim. Lay on your back and try and control your breathing. The cold temperature will take your breath away and you will initially take small quick breaths. You need to slow down your breathing as quickly as possible so your lungs can fill with air. Once you have done that, you will find it easier to float. When you decide to sober up, be prepared to lose many people you thought were your friends. Happened to my step-brother. Lost almost all his friends. He actually had to cut one friend out of his life because the guy wouldn't respect his efforts to get sober and kept pestering and guilting him to go drinking with him. He's been sober for almost 10 years now, owns his own business, has made new friends, and developed a lifelong love of cats. Learning how to get along with people you don't exactly like in the workplace will do wonders for your career. Sometimes it isn't about having talent, it's enough to be a good, decent person to others. Coming from me, a talentless corporate hire, aka the personality hire, ha ha ha. 3 bits of medical advice from old jobs. 1. Strokes can come on very quickly. If someone has a sharp headache or feels woozy or is slurring their speech and you don't believe that's due to any substance they've ingested, ask them to smile. Is it even on both sides? Ask them to raise their arms over their head. Can they raise both? Ask them to say, "The early bird gets the worm," or any words garbled, out of order or slurred. If the smile, arms or speech are not as they usually are, get them to a hospital. 2. Sepsis can come on very quickly, an infection entering your bloodstream. Could be a cut, a boil, a piercing, an infected tooth, graze or puncture wound. If the skin around the cut wound is red and raised, hot to the touch, if the person feels nauseous, lightheaded or dizzy, if they have a fever or are sweating but feel cold, this could be a sign of a more serious infection. Get them to a hospital. 3. Heart attack isn't always pain in the chest. It can also feel like a sharp stabbing pain in the upper back, above the shoulder blade, or like an iron bar around the lungs as opposed to pains in the heart. Get help as soon as you can. You're not being dramatic, I promise. Always better to seek medical help as soon as you can. Smiley face. Always ask for the name of people who assist you over the phone or counter. It amazes me how often I need to re-engage with that same company on the same issue, and being able to quote the name of the person who last helped you will short-circuit the process and save you a lot of time and bother trying to explain yourself over and over.